Ask anyone who's moved to Fairhope, and they'll tell you it just feels different here. Not just the bay views or the oak trees, but those are pretty too. But I'm talking about the sense of community, the energy, and just the everyday warmth. So today, we're diving into 5 distinct neighborhoods in this special city, each with its own vibe, its own price point, and its own lifestyle. Whether you're looking for historic charm, family friendly convenience, or some luxury living, we've got something for you. So stick around because along the way, we're going to share some real stories and some insider tips. And at the end of the day, we get a free downloadable guide to Baldwin County. Just scan the QR code on your screen to grab it. And if Fairhope's been on your radar, or if you're just curious why everyone's talking about it, you've come to the right place because that's all we do. We are the #1 relocation team, and we love helping our clients move here. Now, let's get started. Beginning with one of the most iconic and talked about neighborhoods in Fairhope, this one is the Fruit and Nut District. And yes, that really is the name. It might sound a little quirky, but once you spend about 5 minutes walking these oak-lined streets, you'll really understand why it's one of the most sought-after pockets of town. Located just south of downtown Fairhope, this neighborhood stretches from 2nd Street all the way down to the bay. It hugs the bluff and gives you front row seats to the most spectacular sunsets you'll find anywhere in Lower Alabama. This entire area feels like you're just stepping into a southern novel. Just think historic homes with deep porches, Spanish moss just swaying from the trees, and neighbors just walking as they, walk their dogs or head out for a bike ride. And homes here typically range from 400 to over a million, just depending on the lot size, how close you are to the water, and of course, whether it's been renovated or not. You'll find everything from 1900s craftsman-style cottages to a little more sleek architectural new builds that still manage to respect the vibe of the neighborhood. We had a client a while back, a retired couple actually, from Connecticut, who had originally planned to build in Point Claire, was just a little south, but after finding out how long it would take to build, we ended up just walking through a resale just a block off the bay, and they were hooked. The backyard sloped gently toward Mobile Bay, and as we stood on the porch, the husband turned and he said, "This feels like the kind of place you just stay in forever. We're done looking." A night later, they were under contract. He now fishes off the pier most mornings, so if you see him, say, "Hey, Chris," and he'll positively say that he has no regrets, and he'll tell you about his good experience with us. But that's what this neighborhood does. It grabs you in a quiet, just unassuming way. So what else is nearby, you might ask? Practically everything. You can walk or bike to downtown Fairhope in probably under 10 minutes, depending on how fast you go. But that means access to the boutique shopping, locally owned restaurants, art galleries, coffee shops, and you get the Fairhope Public Library right there too. The Fairhope Municipal Pier is a short stroll away, which is great for, your morning jog or walk, or just watching the pelicans as they dive for fish. And here's something you don't always hear. You're also close to everyday conveniences. While the area feels historic and cozy, it has a Greer's grocery store. And if you're looking for something a little bit bigger than a Greer's in your downtown area, you have the Pig, you have Winn-Dixie, 3 Publixes to choose from, all within a 10-minute drive. This also includes pharmacies, urgent care clinics. You got Thomas Hospital right down the street. You have Fairhope Schools, literally everything you'd ever need. So is it charming? Yes, of course it is. But it's also practical. Now, let's talk about some things that make this place not so perfect. And the one I hear the most is price. Homes in the Fruit and Nut District have appreciated rapidly. Well, To us, it's been pretty rapid over the last 10 years. It feels like it's been rapid. Inventory is limited, competition is high, and if you want something turnkey, you're gonna pay for it. That's it. Also, because some of the homes are a little bit older, buyers may have to budget for renovations or maintenance issues. Think older plumbing, foundations, or HVAC systems that just need updating. Another consideration is the elevation. If you're right on the bay or you're very close to it, flood insurance is something you may want to factor in. Not every home needs it, but it's definitely worth asking about during the due diligence period. And while the walkability is legit incredible, parking can be a challenge during peak seasons or when events are happening in downtown, like just this past weekend, 4th of July. Street parking filled up fast, and if you're hosting guests, you might be directing them to loop around some side streets. But for many buyers, those trade-offs are well worth it for the lifestyle that you're getting here. You don't just live in the Fruit and Nut District, you become a part of this close-knit community because the people who live here are the people who stay here. They know their neighbors. They watch out for each other and their dogs. They gather on the bluff for the 4th of July fireworks and the sunset picnics. And I tell people all the time, it's like a real life Hallmark card. And if you're the kind of person who values charm, walkability, and a connection to the water, you're going to want to check out the Fruit and Nut District. Now, if that doesn't mean anything to you, and you want more of golf course living, and you want to just wake up to those peaceful views and have room to breathe, Rock Creek is one of the most established and beloved neighborhoods in all of Fairhope. Tucked just east of Highway 98 and north of downtown, Rock Creek sits in an incredibly convenient location. You can be in downtown Fairhope in about 7 to 10 minutes, hit the Eastern Shore Center in about 15-20 minutes, and you can hop onto I-10 and head to Mobile in about 25 minutes. So if you're commuting or you just want to be close to shopping and healthcare and all the dining options, this neighborhood might be it. It definitely puts you right in the middle of all of it. But once you drive in, it feels like it's totally own different world. You're surrounded by mature trees and winding streets and just some of the most beautiful landscaping in Baldwin County. And because the neighborhood is built around the Rock Creek Golf Club, many of the homes back up to fairways or wooded lots, offering some serious curb appeal and privacy. Homes here generally range from the low 400s to over $1 million, just depending on the size, location within the community, and, of course, updates. You'll see a mix of traditional brick homes and craftsman-inspired type builds, but with these high-end touches. You have big porches and bay windows and just detailed woodwork that gives the whole area this classic but upscale feel. One of the clients we helped last year, a family relocating from Ohio, I believe, had their hearts absolutely set on this neighborhood because of the community feel and just the mature landscaping. They were initially leaning towards new construction, but once we took them through Rock Creek, the wife turned to me and she said, "This feels like a real neighborhood. It just feels lived in," I guess, in a good way, right? The best way. They ended up finding a home on Sandy Shoal Loop, and it was overlooking the golf course. And before they even closed, the neighbors had already dropped them off a welcome basket, invited them to a cookout, and that's just Rock Creek. On top of that, the amenities here really round out the experience. The clubhouse isn't just for golfers either. It hosts community dinners and holiday events and is home to a popular restaurant that's open to the public. Grab a burger, tell them I sent you there. You won't be disappointed. And there's also a pool. And you'll see people walking the streets all day that weave throughout the community. So even if you never pick up a golf club, you'll still find plenty to enjoy. But if you do, let me know. I'd gladly come out there with you. And another great perk, besides me golfing with you, is the landscape here is unique. I'm not exaggerating either. Unlike many of the flatter subdivisions in Baldwin County, Rock Creek sits on these rolling hills, I'll call them, which adds a lot of character to the neighborhood and the golf course. It just gives you that, elevated feel or give you the elevated views and walkout basements, something you don't see often in Lower Alabama. Now, let's talk about schools. Rock Creek is zoned for Fairhope East Elementary, Fairhope Middle School, and Fairhope High School, all part of the Baldwin County school system. And if you haven't heard about it already, they consistently are top rated in the area. Plus, you're just a short drive to Bayside Academy, Christ the King, and St. Michael's High School if private schools are, more on your radar. And if you're not familiar, Bayside is a college prep school that is very, very highly rated. And the Christ the King is a Catholic school from kindergarten through 8th grade. And St. Michael's is a newer high school that's home to the Cardinals, where Phillip Rivers is the head coach. So if you're a fan of the Colts or the Chargers or a Catholic school that's less than 10 years old, this might be worth checking out. Now, back to Rock Creek. Here's a few things to consider before falling completely in love with RC. And first is that the HOA fees here aren't that high because they don't really offer a whole lot. They don't have tennis courts or pickleball courts. And some parts of Rock Creek don't even get to use the community pool. Sounds crazy, right? But it's true. And you will have to pay, for those common areas and the landscaping throughout. So there is an HOA everywhere. And for most homeowners, it's a fair trade-off for how polished and how well kept everything stays. Second, while it's close to Fairhope, you're not really within walking distance to downtown. So if you're someone who wants to bike or, walk to the coffee shops or just stroll to the art galleries every weekend, this may feel a little more removed. And lastly, the homes are beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but they are older, especially those that were built in the late 90s and the early 2000s. And that means you may encounter the occasional dated kitchen, the older roof, home that could use some cosmetic updates. But the bones are solid, promise you that. And a lot of owners have already started updating interiors with modern finishes while keeping that classic Rock Creek character. Bottom line, Rock Creek gives you the elegance, the space, and a true sense of community. It's not the flashiest neighborhood, and it doesn't try to be, but that's just part of the appeal. So if you want a higher end setting, friendly neighborhoods, and a home with lasting value, Rock Creek definitely checks all those boxes. That said, if you're looking for that sweet spot between affordability and everyday comfort, but you still want that Fairhope address, Fairhope Falls is one of the first neighborhoods I recommend because we've had so many clients fall in love with that subdivision. It's located just off Highway 104, just past 181 after you pass the new Wawa and Three Circle Church, which puts you about 10 to 15 minutes from downtown Fairhope, 20 minutes from Daphne, and roughly 45 minutes to the beach. You're close to the Eastern Shore Center for shopping, Fairhope Brewery Company if you want a casual Friday hangout, and you've got a new medical facility from the University of South Alabama there. And they are adding a new orthodontist across the street too. Not to mention, on the other end, you've got Aldi, Walmart, and just up the road, you have the gym that I frequent, and it's called Babs Fitness. So while it feels like a quieter, tucked away spot, you're still close to everything you need. Homes here usually range between $330,000 to that $500,000-ish price point, and square footage is going to typically fall between 1,600 to just under 2,800 square feet. What makes these homes appealing isn't just the price, it's the layout. You get open concept living, large kitchens with granite or quartz countertops, fully smart home systems, and backyards that are actually usable. These aren't those, postage stamp lawns that we see in every other neighborhood. I remember, well, at least not all of them. I remember the first time I visited Fairhope Falls. I pulled off Highway 104 and immediately passed this big, just peaceful pond, kind of near the front of the neighborhood. And it had a little fountain going in the middle, spraying out. And even on a weekday afternoon, you sit there and you think, man, I could really just see someone out there fishing. And you did. You saw them. They were fishing right off the bank. And a mom was walking her toddler around the trail. I mean, it's nothing flashy, but it just felt real. Like I thought about it and I was like, oh, look, there they are. I don't know, comfortable. Like people actually lived there and not just bought a house and disappeared inside. And speaking of, Fairhope Falls punches above its weight. You've got two community pools, one of which is set right near the trees and the other near the small pond, giving you those relaxing views while the kids swim and splash around or go fishing. And there are two playgrounds for younger kids there and multiple stocked fishing ponds that are actually well maintained. And I say that because you drive around in other neighborhoods and you don't always have that same outcome. So, if you're into fishing or just want to take the kids out for an hour, it's all within walking distance. One of my favorite things about Fairhope Falls is the access to Fish River. If you like kayaking, or if you want to jump in an inner tube, or just sit and unwind on a Saturday, you can launch your inner tube into this river just minutes from your house. There's a walking trail within the neighborhood that leads right to the river. And while it's not some major tourist feature, it's exactly what so many people are looking for. Just something local, something accessible, and of course, it's natural. The vibe here is super laid back too. You'll find a mix of families with young kids, retirees, people downsizing, and even some first-time homebuyers who just want something newer without, blowing their budget. In the evenings, it's not uncommon to see neighbors sitting outside on their porches or in front of the house, cracking open a cold one, just chatting while their kids ride their bikes up and down the sidewalks. I've had a lot of our clients tell me that this is the first place that they've ever lived where they can actually remember their neighbors' names because they go out and they talk to them. And you'll see just everybody waving at each other. Honestly, it's nice. Now, let's be real, right? Fairhope Falls is not for everyone. If you want to be able to walk into downtown Fairhope for coffee or browse through boutiques, while you're strolling, this is not that kind of setup. It's a little bit of a drive into town. Also, there's still ongoing construction in some phases, which means occasional noise. You're going to hear working trucks. You're going to see dust flying up in the air. But you also are going to get lower incentives and some money that go towards closing. So, while the homes are modern and well built, they are production built, right? So, if you're expecting fully custom finishes or big architectural wow moments, this is not going to be the place. But for the price, for the lifestyle, for the access to the nature, the community feel, and just the low maintenance of new construction, Fairhope Falls definitely delivers. It's more like the kind of neighborhood where you can enjoy a quiet cup of coffee on the back patio in the morning, host a cookout in the evening, and feel like you've got a little bit of room to breathe without emptying your savings to get you there. That said, let's talk about one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in all of Baldwin County, and that's the Waters at Fairhope. If you're searching for just upscale living with peace, privacy, and some truly just stunning homes, this is where things get next level. Location-wise, you'll find the Waters right behind County Road 13, with the entrance being west of Highway 104, and it's right off of 181. Just kitty corner of Fairhope Falls. And you're only about 10 minutes from downtown Fairhope, but when you pull into this neighborhood, it feels like you've just entered another world. You're surrounded by these beautiful mature trees. You have well-manicured landscaping and homes that just stick out. They look like they belong on the cover of Southern Living, honestly. And while it's peaceful and private, you're not far from anything. You got grocery stores like Publix right around the corner. You're probably a 5-minute drive to Piggly Wiggly. You've also got quick access to Highway 181 and 98 if you're commuting north to Daphne or into Mobile. You got downtown dining, boutique shops, and Fairhope's Pier and the Bluff are just up the road, close enough to where it doesn't feel like a long drive. You go out for a weekend brunch, a date night, or just a quick sunset stroll. Homes in the waters at Fairhope usually start in the 700s, but many sell well into the $1 million range. These are custom homes, not production builds like we were just talking about. You'll find anywhere from 3,000 to over 6,000 square foot estates, often on oversized or premium wooded lots. Most feature brick or stucco exteriors or both. They have gorgeous roof peaks and just elegant architectural touches like very deep porches and columns and just custom woodwork. Inside, these homes are just packed with high-end features. Think chef's kitchens with oversized islands, professional-grade appliances, spa-inspired bathrooms with soaking tubs and just walk-through showers, huge walk-in closets, and living spaces that flow seamlessly into outdoor entertaining areas. We once toured a home here that had a vanishing edge pool, but it was overlooking the tree-lined creek, and it had an outdoor kitchen with a built-in pizza oven. No exaggeration, it felt more like a resort than it did a house. I just remember standing there, just taking it all in, thinking this is the kind of place you build your forever home, right? This is somewhere where you want to stay and retire. Not just because it was, just beautiful, but because the surroundings just matched the quality inside the home. It didn't feel flashy, it just felt right. Despite the luxury, the vibe is incredibly peaceful. You're far enough from downtown that it's quiet at night. You don't hear that traffic noise and no street lights bleeding into your windows. People here talk about feeling truly just tucked away, like they can step outside and just hear the birds. You can hear the wind through the trees or kids riding bikes down the street. And while the neighborhood itself doesn't have really big commercial style amenities like a clubhouse or a commercial style pool, because most of the homes already have their own pool, the entire design of the community just emphasizes privacy and space and connection to nature. And many of the lots back up to creeks or, wooded preserves. The streets are really wide and traffic is minimal. You're not going to be in there if you don't live there. It's just the kind of place where people walk their dogs for sunset or have a great dinner outside without feeling crowded with your neighbors. Now, that said, let's talk pros and cons because even high-end neighborhoods have trade-offs. Pros for me would be privacy. You're getting one of the most peaceful setups in Fairhope. You got custom homes. No two homes look alike. These aren't cookie-cutter designs. They have natural beauty, mature trees, green space, and just a quiet surrounding. I'd also say convenience. You're close to everything, but you're not in the middle of it all. There's definitely value retention here, and homes hold their value because of their quality and the location. But the cons, it's not for every budget. If you're looking under $600,000, this neighborhood probably isn't going to work. You're not going to have a central amenity hub if you're used to a pool, a gym, a clubhouse, HOA that's managing it all. This neighborhood doesn't really have that. It leans more towards a luxury private setting. That said, there's not a lot of availability because homes here are custom built and they're just not mass produced. Inventory can be really limited. If something comes up that fits your style, you gotta move pretty quickly or risk waiting months for the right fit. So if your wish list includes privacy, elegance, and a peaceful retreat just minutes from town, the waters at Fairhope is about as close to perfect as it gets. You're getting the kind of home that feels like a sanctuary in a location that gives you both luxury and livability. Now, if you're looking for a home that feels warm, grounded, and attainable, this next one, River Mill, is one of the most underrated neighborhoods in the Fairhope area. This is the kind of place that blends classic Southern charm with practical comfort, all without breaking the bank. Location-wise, River Mill is tucked off of Highway 104 and only about 10 minutes east of downtown Fairhope. But you're the furthest away from the Eastern Shore Shopping Center in Daphne out of all these subdivisions that I mentioned. The plus side is you're closer to Foley, and you're a few minutes closer to Gulf Shores or Orange Beach. Homes in River Mill typically range from 250 to 400,000, and they're between 1,500 to, I'd say, a little over 2,000 square feet. You'll see mostly single-story layouts with open concept living, neutral finishes, and exteriors that are either brick or board and batten. It's a mix of newer builds and well-kept resales that still feel fresh without, trying too hard to impress. Think granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, and yards big enough for a grill, a hammock, and a TV so you can watch the Saturday night football game. And what makes River Mill really stand out isn't a luxury, but its livability. The streets are quiet and lined with mature landscaping, these beautiful trees. It's the kind of place where people slow down just enough to actually say hello. How are you? And the $145 annual HOA fee means you're not stuck with a rule book that's 3 inches thick. But the neighborhood still looks clean and cared for. It's laid back without being sloppy and affordable without feeling cookie cutter. We worked with a couple last year who were relocating from northern Mississippi, and they wanted something simple, close to schools, but with enough room for their 2 young boys to just run around. We toured a home in River Mill with a screened-in back porch and a big fenced-in backyard. As soon as we stepped onto the porch, they looked around, did their, okay, and said, I could get used to this. 2 days later, they were under contract. Sometimes you just have to think about it, but when you know, you know. And then when we checked in a few months after they closed, they said their evenings almost always end the same way. You got your porch lights on, the kids winding down from the day, and them just sitting down and drinking sweet tea while the breeze rolls through the trees. I mean, how else can you beat that? That's the lifestyle this neighborhood offers. It's easy, it's comfortable, and it's familiar. Now, of course, just like everything else, River Mill isn't perfect. It's not a planned community with a clubhouse or a pool. So if you're looking for those resort-style amenities, this isn't it. The homes are a little more modest, too. You won't find vaulted ceilings or massive walk-ins or walk-in showers or premium finishes everywhere. But you will find solid craftsmanship and just a lot of potential. And because the neighborhood is smaller and more established, homes don't come up for sale as often. And so when they do, they tend to go quickly. Still, if your priority is comfort over flash, simplicity over status, River Mill checks a lot of boxes. It's affordable, it's close to everything you need, and just far enough outside of the core of Fairhope that you can actually take a deep breath. For a lot of families, especially those just starting out or trying to downsize, it ends up being a perfect fit. If you're looking for a home that lets you settle in, plant roots, and enjoy the kind of neighborhood where people still know each other's names, I'm telling you, River Mill might be exactly what you've been searching for. So whether you're drawn to Fairhope for the charm, the schools, the small town pace, or just a sense of belonging, you do not have to stretch your budget by any means to find the right place. River Mill offers a quieter, more grounded version of Fairhope living. It's not flashy, but it's real. And sometimes that's exactly what makes a place feel like home. So if you're ready to call this place home, then make sure you reach out to the #1 relocation team in all of Lower Alabama. Give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and we'll see you on the next video.